This is the real winning edge. It's a kite surfer who's flying high now after winning over the worst ordeal. The voice he listened to led him the wrong way. A tennis player who was told she couldn't go on, but did. Our celebrity introducers will be tennis legend Chris Everett, three-time Stanley Cup winner Brian Rafalski, and actress Jessica Rivera. This is How to Overcome.
I'm Apollo Antonono. See how you can overcome when life gets tough.
Hi, I'm Lisa Leslie. Find out how to have the real winning edge over life's challenges.
Coming up, getting dismaying news, yet fighting through it.
You know, I loved flying kites when I was growing up. It brought me a sense of freedom as the wind took the kite high into the air, but at the same time, I was in control of how far it could go. In the same way, kite surfers enjoy that sense of being released from boundaries, but at the same time, being in control. Now, the young lady I'm going to introduce to you fought something that was really holding her back from leading her life. Now, she has been released from that. She found the determination and the help she needed to take her life in the direction she wanted to go. Her courage and resolve gave her what we like to call the real winning edge.
The doctor came in on call. The doctor told me that it could either be a very bad virus or it could be leukemia. And he shared the news with us that it was very, very likely that I had leukemia cancer. How could me, a normal girl who was very active, and how could this happen to me? I originally got into kiteboarding from the influences of my brother and my dad. They began teaching me.
We used to do a lot of water skiing, and so they learned from a young age, probably kindergarten, behind the boat, how to water ski and how to board. So that worked well, really, into learning how to kiteboard.
I got to know Amanda through our kiting community. When you're kiteboarding, you're hooked in, and the kite's power is pulling your core, and you're regulating that with your arms. You're not getting that force through your upper body. As soon as you get riding, you find that you want to go in the air. If you want to go in the air, instead of pulling you across the water, it lifts you into the air. You're just flying with the wind, and it's quiet. It's pretty magical. And
I spent the entire summer kiteboarding. We also were able to participate in a small competition. It involved a race. It also involved who could get the largest air, who could do tricks. Kiteboarding is like such a joy to me and so empowering. It's just you in the water and the wind.
I've taught hundreds of students kiting over the years, and there's something about her. I think fearless, she doesn't see fear. She goes into life boldly. She puts herself out there in ways that it's admirable. It's a beautiful thing.
It was my sophomore year of high school, and things were going incredible. It was actually my favorite year of school altogether. I was working very hard towards high achievements that I wanted to reach with running track. And I was training right up to my family went on a vacation to Florida. Starting to have some pain. I also was just beginning to feel very exhausted. I started developing like red bumps on my body almost. We didn't think it was anything big at all. I was just feeling awful. Once I arrived home, it was that next day my mom brought me into urgent care immediately. They began doing tests. The next day I started getting ready for school. I still was just feeling so awful. I developed a huge scab on my forehead that was just black and dark.
When we went to the hospital, we found out she had cancer. You think you're on your right path here, you know what I mean? You have a daughter, a wonderful daughter, and she loved life, always had a smile on her face. And then one day, your whole world just changes.
Leukemia is a cancer of the white blood cells, and they help you deal with infection. Once in a while something goes wrong in one of these white blood cells and it becomes programmed abnormally and begins to grow uncontrollably.
And 3 days after I was diagnosed, I suffered a stroke. And this was occurred behind my left ear right here, which affected my right side of my body. I was no longer able to read. My whole right side of my body was just extremely numb. I started showing symptoms of another stroke. And at this point, though, I had already started chemotherapy.
During the first month or so of her treatment, she had several strokes. She was quite ill.
My course of treatment and the outlook on things were pretty negative.
One of the life-saving medicines for her type of leukemia, and that was arsenic. And that was one of the key medicines that helped to save her life.
The stroke was a huge battle through the whole experience. With the cancer, my first 52 days, I left the hospital. There was no sign of any chemo cells in me anymore. So it was just like incredible, because even the doctor wasn't expecting that at all. It was really amazing how many people were praying for me, not only amongst my friends and my family, but just even around the U.S. and world. And it definitely was because of that support that really gave you more hope and a positive outlook on it all.
She was very heroic and worked very, very hard and did intensive rehab to the point where today you'd never know that she had a series of very serious strokes.
And it's your faith that gets you through this. You think you have strong faith, and then God takes you to a whole different level than you ever had before. And it was just an outpouring of all the prayers and everything, and I just saw miracles in her, what she had to go through.
Right away, I started getting involved with many organizations that are supporters of cancer and looking into more research. And I've done an enormous amount of speeches for nonprofits, for schools.
Coming down with cancer and then having a stroke during treatment, could have just thrown in the towel and been very sour, but she embraced it and took on cancer head on and defeated it.
She's always a person that does things first. Think in her battle with cancer, to her it was just another chore that she had to get through, and she was just determined to do it, and she did it very well.
Her ability to stay so positive really propelled her to where she is now. It would have been very, very easy for her to, especially the circumstances that were given to her as such a young, 14, 15-year-old girl, where appearance is everything. It would have been very easy for her to kind of crawl inside herself and say, I can't do it. There's something just in her that made her just really push forward, push through the struggles. It was a very hard process for Amanda to go through, any teenager.
I'm really grateful that actually cancer has brought so many amazing things into my life. Advice I would give to other people going through struggles is take those challenges and use them to better your life, to influence others. What has given me the real winning edge when battling through leukemia cancer were all the prayers and all the amazing amount of support that was offered to me through all these challenges.
Next, he was out of focus and out of control.
Hi, I'm Brian Rafalski, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Olympic silver medalist with Team USA. You see all these kids practicing on the ice behind me? Some are here for fun, some are here to be the best, but all love the game of hockey. If you're one of those kids that want to be the best, there'll be many challenges ahead. As a young boy starting out in hockey, I loved the competition and wanted to be the best I could. The work was exhausting, but the success was rewarding. However, I paid a price for not staying on the path that was set out for me. I fell into many temptations along my career and lost focus on what's most important. Thankfully, I returned to the one who has blessed me. Success is not based on results alone, but how we run the race. I want to introduce to you a young man who had to learn to refocus his priorities and not let the temptations of this world derail him. He has found the best way to stay on the path of his dreams and goals. He has found how to maintain the real winning edge.
I really hit rock bottom, and I remember that night lying in bed, and I fell asleep and I woke up around 12:30. I was done for this once and for all because I was scared. It was the first time in my life that I was scared of losing everything. And I really just cried out to God that night and said, God, I want to be changed. And I've been able now to come out and talk about topics such as this to young men who may be going through the same struggles that I have gone through. I loved watching hockey, but I could never play, and that really hurt. When we finally moved to North Carolina, I was able to play hockey, and I really fell in love with the speed and the grittiness. The very first game I played in, I scored with 14.3 seconds left. Ended up coming in third in the country. The league was split up by USA Hockey affiliations were available for these top teams. I actually started training using techniques that I had been taught through Kuksuwan, which was my martial arts class. I would be doing 3 sets of 100 push-ups, sit-ups. Training would take about an hour to 2 hours every day. And Kuksuwan, which is a Korean martial arts, developed a passion for getting my next belt, learning these core values of discipline, practice, and these things are really still embedded in me today.
2.5 years ago, my family and I started the 50-state, 50-city tour, in which we spent 30 days in one city in all 50 states. The purpose behind the 50-state, 50-city missions trip is to go into communities and share our faith with hockey families. We spend hours doing skating instruction, and then we have parents asking when they can come back.
My father is my biggest role model because he really is trying to impact the sport he loves. We go into a state and we rent ice and we run clinics. We teach the children about hockey. Him and I instruct these kids in how to skate, how to shoot, how to pass, how to stick handle. We try to teach these kids that we are not here just to play hockey, but we are here to serve God and to serve others. Now, I love hockey more than most people, but I still understand that there is more to life than hockey.
With Alex being a part of the 50-state, 50-city tour, he has opportunities to skate with a lot of skaters that are older than him, and it's been really impressive to see him this last summer kept pace with guys who are playing in one league below the NHL.
My siblings really have become my good friends, and we love to ski. And when we ski together, we are a very competitive family. We all really enjoy to challenge and push each other farther. With the money I make from babysitting, I also support a child from World Help, along with my parents. I think our family supports 7 or 8 children around the world. I also try to save for college. When I was 13, I broke my shoulder halfway through the season. And instead of turning to God, I turned to other things, movies and TV shows and other things as well, pornography, to find my fulfillment instead of playing hockey. And every time I would get caught, I would be remorseful, and I would always think in my mind, what can I cover up to be able to get back to? I really hit rock bottom.
That's when he confided in me that he'd really been struggling with pornography. And so I was obviously concerned, but I was very glad that he came to talk to me, because I've also struggled with that in the past, and I know the damage that it can do.
I remember my father and mother threatened, we're taking away your movie, you're not playing hockey for a year, you're no longer an associate's degree.
Discovering the fact and that he was looking at website places on computers and on his iTouch, watching movies that he had been restricted from. What was so dark, what was holding him back from being the individual that God had created him to be, was now exposed.
I called a friend of mine, Todd Lostrader, said, okay, well, we can't have this going on, so we need to put websites on your computer. We need to put software on your computer to block you from these websites. So we did that, but I found a way to bypass this software to be able to still watch these TV shows. And they had adult content, scenes of nudity, and scenes that would still trigger my mind to do things that I didn't want my body to do.
Todd played a huge part in Alex's life, especially at this time when Alex really felt as though he had no one to turn to.
It just causes a depression. It causes a distance in relationships. It causes separation in your relationship with God. It causes separation in relationships in your family, your friends, and it has a ripple effect.
My family followed suit. And they really encouraged me through this. It was really awesome to see the encouragement that they had all given me. They weren't judgmental in any way. Of course, there was discipline that needed to happen, and that did happen, and that discipline was painful, but we have all grown from that and really grown stronger as a family. If I could speak to all the young people in the world, I would tell them to work hard at what God has given the passion for you to do. If you continue to work hard, then you will succeed. Continue to follow your dreams. Also, stay away from pornography. Through prayer, I set my goals, and the only reason I can reach that finish line through this winning edge is through my faith in God.
She was told that she would always be handicapped. When we return.
Hi, I'm Chris Everett. In my career, I've won more singles titles than anyone else in the history of professional tennis. You know, I've also had my share of disappointing moments, but I'm fortunate enough not to have endured what some others have endured, especially this young woman I'm about to introduce. Have you had setbacks and wondered how you get through it? Well, watch this courageous young woman and find out how she had the real winning edge.
The muscles were very underdeveloped because I was unable to use them for so long. And so it took me over a year just to be able to walk correctly again because my foot was turned out. I just grew up playing tennis, and I started since I was old enough to hold a racket.
Summer is a good, solid junior athlete. She's someone that could be potentially a real solid college player, and who knows from there. You start that process of developing a nationally ranked player early on. You're always looking for someone that can do more than you ask them to do. A player that can be pushed and work hard and show those signs is always got potential.
I've seen Summer's faith kind of lived out in the way she carries herself in humility. She's never boastful.
I was out with some friends on a golf cart, just riding around the neighborhood. The girl driving turned too quickly around a median and hit the curb, and it flipped. The two other girls got thrown off of it, and it dragged me about 30 feet down the road with me stuck underneath. The two girls ran over and tried to get it off. Luckily, we had somebody driving by, and he helped lift the cart up off of me and drove me to the hospital. Once I got to the hospital, they had to stop the bleeding quickly because I had lost everything on the inside of my right knee. My bone was exposed. There were actually groove marks in the bone from where the road had scraped it, and also same thing on the inside of my right ankle, just down that side of my leg. Also my left knee, the top of it was completely shredded. The greatest concern was my left leg because the top of my knee was so shredded. To perform a skin graft on top of a moving joint like that is something that's very difficult to do. They didn't know if they would be capable of doing that correctly, and because there's a huge risk of completely limiting my mobility in that leg. I would never be able to run or anything like that again. After the golf cart wreck, I ended up having 9 surgeries. The plan was to perform the skin graft on top of my left knee. This is just kind of honestly the miracle part. I was going to leave at 6 o'clock the next morning. I went to the hospital for them to put me in the ambulance and take me to Montgomery, and they unwrapped my knee, and it had healed beyond the point of needing a skin graft. With them having to do that skin graft on top of my knee, I would not have been able to use it to its full extent. It had, healed to the point where it didn't need the surgery anymore.
Summer had extensive injuries. The knee, was not a simple meniscus tear. All the musculature was compromised. You have times where you're working hard. You have times where you have to slow down. You have times maybe when you even have to stop. But an athlete never has to stop 100%.
After I broke my wrist, I was not able to play tennis like I normally would. My faith has definitely grown since my injuries. I did have moments of confusion with God as to why I was hurt. It just seemed like one thing after another. There just kind of came a moment of just peace and kind of acceptance as to it doesn't, really matter that all this is going on. He's completely in control. Before my right knee had that one miraculous night of healing, the doctors told me that they didn't think I'd be able to fully use my knee again. It's just incredible that I'm doing what I'm doing today. You just have to stay strong. You can't let things that might push you back keep you back. It's just making sure you just don't get lazy and don't get comfortable with what you have now, because in an instant it could be taken away.
Don't miss next week on The Real Winning Edge and see how real teens deal with the challenges of receiving unexpected bad news, conquering mountains of negative reports, and being abandoned. Our celebrity introducers will be Olympic champion Reese Hoffa, Jan Hudak, and football champion Garrett Reynolds. If you'd like to order copies of the program or our youth study program, log on to our website, realwinningedge.com. If you have comments or suggestions for profilees, write us at info@challengerfilms.org or friend us on Facebook. And as always, may you have the real winning edge over life's challenges.